Well, hello there, everybody. This is not Pilgrim's Passport, but I got to thinking about some ideas that as I'm looking through the scriptures I come up with, and it kind of leads us to various types of considerations, both biblical and non-biblical, entering worlds unknown in the world of grandma, and I don't mean grandma. Okay, let's go to real quick. It's 10-minute tape, tops 15. Exodus chapter 15, verse 22. Now, this is the first big test after the parting of the Red Sea. And as you know, the Passover celebrated by our Jewish friends and brothers. And it's a great holiday to constantly relive. It really is. So anyway, this is their first big test, and it comes in the realm of thirst. Now, who of us can say we've ever really been thirsty? Now, I mean, it's almost laughable when you think about it. We're so used to having what we need at our fingertips. Look, 3 days. Let me read the passages first here. Exodus 15:22. Then Moses made Israel set out from the Red Sea, and they went into the wilderness of Shur. They went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now, basically, 3 days is what's called the tensile, Tensile, tensile moment. That means the rubber band breaks, the bridge thing comes down, you can go no farther. And basically, we could live without food, some of us for a while, but water, 3 days tops, you're toast, you're dead. So it's basically, it goes on to say, when they came to Marah, they could not drink the water of Marah because it was bitter. Therefore they named it Marah. And the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What shall we drink?" And he cried to the Lord. This was just one of the many times Moses would be certainly crying to God. You know what? I wouldn't want this guy's job. And even after all he went through, he didn't even make it to the promised land. God wouldn't give him a visa. Now, of course, he's in heaven, and Moses is the hero of heroes in the Old Testament. We know that. But, sometimes God can be a hard employer sometimes. But, you know what they say, the more light, the more responsibility. And I think it's a true story. And also light that we purposely have not received, we're going to get nailed for too. So anyway, what shall we drink? He cried to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a log. That's the ESV, but it's really a tree, And so he throws it into the water, and the water became sweet. The water became, listen for the word now, potable. I have always struggled with the fact that we Americans, basically, and they tried to drill it into us in the 1970s, we just couldn't get the metric system. Yeah, we just couldn't, and every time now, every once in a while I hear it, it's 5 kilometers, and it's this, and I go, I got the nervous breakdown. And try as I might, but we're Americans. We should not have to conform. Anyway, we just have a mental block with this thing. And some words I'm going to refer to now. But anyway, it says right here, he threw the tree into the water and it became sweet. What's interesting is that very similar, if you look into the life and times of Elisha, the prophet who followed Elijah, very similar miracles here. but also Elisha does a lot of the miracles that Jesus replicated, did. So it's just an interesting study there. And so then it goes on to say there, the Lord made for them a statute and a rule. There he tested them, first big test, saying, if you will diligently listen to the voice of the Lord your God and do that which is right in his eyes, and give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases, none of the diseases on you that I put on the Egyptians. For I am the Lord your healer. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees. And they encamped there, you can just imagine, by the water. So God was, it was a tough first test. It was a tough first test. But, you know, you take it to the limit 3 days, man, you're seeing things. I mean, when the Crusaders were beaten by Saladin, especially up in Galilee, for a while, the Crusaders were, well, actually, there was a battle. They were blocked out from getting water in the Sea of Galilee. And you could, I've been there, you know me, many times. And to see that beautiful blue crystal clear lake, and to think that you could not buy a drink. Now, don't you know there were, you know, the sons of Ishmael there selling what appeared to be water, but you know. So anyway, we go back. I call this little Sniplet. Now, not Sniglet. If you remember that little comedy show in the 80s, I think it was. I think the guy came up with these Sniglets. So I call this biblical Sniplets. See how that goes. The confused pilgrim. Now, if the water is termed potable, or say a chemical substance is deemed flammable or inflammable, well, what does it say regarding the subject? Now, there is no word unflammable. I have seen Westerners, mainly from the United States, be thrown over these words. Potable. Is it drinkable? Well, of course, it means it is drinkable. But can't you simplify that to simply say you can drink this? Or you can't drink it, it's impotable. It's absolutely impotable. So, inflammable, flammable, it means actually the same word. I think the flammable came 200 years later, I think. But they basically are synonyms. They mean the same thing. Highly combustible. There is no word unflammable. So you figure by the time you try to figure all this stuff out, the house is already on fire. Flee. I mean, just flee. I mean, I have witnessed it with my own eyes, where Christian pilgrims from the West, from good old United States, were thrown by some of these words. Well, is it flammable? Is it? That may not have anything to do with the metric system, but it does say a lot about the good old USA. So that's a little biblical sniplet. Maybe we'll just call it that. I don't know if you can think of a better word for this little 10-minute segment, which we can, send it in. We'll come up with it. But I just thought it was a cool story. The first test, big test, and then God said, "Look, okay, I'm not letting you off easy. I just opened the Red Sea for you people. Now, let's get on with it. But let me take you to Guy Beach, a nice place where there are a whole bunch of palm trees and water." See you guys. See you soon.